Welcome to Within the Frame, where we bring today's most pressing issues across the globe into focus. I'm Kim Mok-yeon. Now, as the global food crisis deepens, the challenges surrounding food security have become an urgent concern for governments, international organizations, and citizens alike. The rise in food prices, climate change, and environmental pollution are all contributing factors exacerbating the issue of hunger and poverty. Now, in this context, the role of the UN Food and Agriculture Organization has never been more critical. As the FAO works to address these pressing issues, including through innovations in food systems and global cooperation, countries like South Korea have emerged as key partners in these efforts. Today, we are joined by experts to discuss the global food crisis, the FAO's initiatives, and how international collaboration can help alleviate hunger and enhance food security. For this, we are joined by Kenya Kono, Program Officer at the UN Food and Agriculture Organization online. Welcome.
Thank you. Very pleasure to meet you.
And also joining us is Chang-geun Lee, Associate Professor at the Korea Development Institute. Great to have you, Professor.
Thank you.
Now let's start with Mr. Kono. So there are growing concerns that the global food crisis is becoming a daily issue for all of us. Could you start us off with the severity of the food situation on a global scale?
Yes. According to State of Food Security and Nutrition in the World report published by FAO, in 2023, approximately 752 million people are undernourished. And then this corresponds to 9.1% of world population. And in particular, it's increasing 152 million people compared to 2019. And then Africa remains the region with the largest portion of the hunger, and 1 out of 5 people are still undernourished. And ongoing conflicts, like Ukrainian war, is really having a negative impact on food supply chains, and also the grain exports and fertilizer production in Ukraine and Russia. And it really is increasing the price and shortages and impacting the low-income countries.
Right, so there's a lot of people still suffering from malnutrition. The FAO's World Food Price Index for November rose by 0.5% to 127.5 points, marking the highest level in 19 months. Professor Lee, so what is the impact of the rise in the food price index on poverty?
Well, rising price index obviously means that foods become more expensive. So the purchasing power of household decreases, and that's particularly severe for low-income households. The Angus Law says that the share of income expenditure on food increases as income decreases. So low-income households are more vulnerable to price increases. So rising food prices mean that they have more financial strain. So they still have to spend their money on education, health, and others. So they have reduced ability to spend on those things. And they are likely to suffer from malnutrition. So it's particularly important to address these challenges. And we can think of some measures such as short-term food subsidies and social safety net. And in the long term, we should think of how to promote more kind of resilience to address these issues.
Right, so there are a lot of factors contributing to that. And we might say climate change is considered one of the biggest threats to food security. Professor Lee, how are environmental pollution and extreme weather affecting agricultural productivity?
Well, we can think of some extreme weather events such as floods and drought. So they disrupt planting cycle, and they reduce yield, and they create some unpredictability in production. And pollution causes soil degradation and water scarcity. So all these things affect agricultural productivity. through diminishing arable land, and they also threaten food availability. So they are the climate-induced factors that affect agricultural production.
Right. So as our Professor Lee said, given this kind of worsening international food security situation, the role of the FAO seems even more crucial. Mr. Kono, what efforts has the FAO made so far to address food crisis and alleviate rural poverty?
Yes, FAO has been taking lead to alleviate hunger and poverty for the past decades. And I'd like to give you 4 key efforts we have been making. The first is the emergency and humanitarian assistance. Emergency response as a program, FAO provides immediate assistance to the communities which is hit by the crisis and conflict, drought, and provide seed, fertilizers, and tools, and then also veterinary supplies so that the farmers and pastorists can recover their livelihoods. And the second is the building resilient agriculture. Basically, FAO promotes the climate smart agriculture, which is resilient and water efficient, and also the drought tolerant, and then agroecologically sound. FAO also promotes the soil conservation and agroforestry. That's part of the efforts. And then the third key effort is the rural development programs, empowering smallholders. They are the majority of the poverty population in the world. And then we also improve the agricultural productivity and market access of the farmers. And then we work very intensively with women and youth, which are often in a very weak position, by promoting micro-enterprise and cooperatives. And then lastly, we also work as a nutrition and food security. And we promote the nutrition-sensitive agriculture, diversifying the food sources like legumes and vegetables and fruits in particular. And we also strongly promote the school feeding program in partner with other UN agencies, which contributes to a good learning and good health of the children.
Right. Thank you for the clear explanation on that. Now, we also hear that the FAO believes that overcoming food insecurity is impossible without the innovation in food systems. Mr. Kono, first tell us, how can transitioning to a sustainable food system help solve not only the food insecurity, but also the climate crisis? And what is food system in the first place?
Yes. Well, in short, food system is everything which is connected with food and agriculture. And why we call it system is because it's all interconnected. And agri-food system cover the journey of food from farm to fork. It includes seedlings and growing, fishing, harvesting, and then processing, packaging, and transporting, and distributing, cooking, and dining, and then disposing. So basically the whole process. And then in FAO term, agriculture includes a broad set of agriculture, fishery, and forestry. And agri-food system play a key role for both food security and climate change because agriculture is considered a big amount of the green climate house emission. It's considered approximately like 1/3 of it. And then it's not only from the food production, but also from the supply chain. So we really need to look into all the process of this. And transition of the food system to sustainable one really make a difference for having a holistic value chain and also environmentally sound production system. And it should be also socially inclusive. and promoting climate smart agriculture, reducing emissions or production of the emission gas is really critical. And by transforming the agri-food system, for instance, not only limited to this production and value chain side, but also consumption, because we are wasting quite a large amount of food. And if we reduce the food loss and waste, that itself contributes significantly to the climate change. And this whole set of efforts is really required as of today.
Right. So as our Mr. Kono mentioned, the FAO supports countries in preparing and responding to key food security issues based on data. Now, as an economist, Professor Lee, how do you evaluate the FAO's efforts in this regard?
Well, the FAO provides statistical tools such as FAO Stat and the Global Information and Early Warning System. These are quite crucial in supporting countries to anticipate a crisis and make some informed decisions. So we've been talking about evidence-based policymaking, but it's impossible without data. And sometimes data are very expensive, which means it's very difficult to collect data. So the FAO offers a platform that provide comprehensive data and enable member countries to address some systematic problems. So it makes them possible to identify vulnerability, target resources effectively, and track progress toward key policy goals, such as SDGs. And I would also like to say that knowing is one thing, but doing is another. So the FAO works towards making the policymakers more kind of capable. So capacity building is another FAO effort because it's quite important for developing countries to implement policies effectively and using and utilizing the data and evidence drawn from the data. So that might be another area the FAO is working hard, and that could be another area that can contribute to addressing a food crisis.
Right, so these efforts are regarded as very crucial and important in resolving the crisis. Now let's also take a look at the cooperation between the Republic of Korea and the FAO. This year marks the 75th anniversary of South Korea's membership in the FAO. Mr. Kono, what are the practical outcomes of cooperation between FAO and South Korea?
Yes, 75 years of partnership with FAO and the Republic of Korea has been a very successful one because in these 7 decades, Korea has shifted from hunger, persuasive developing country to an OECD country, and from a recipient of assistance to a donor. And then the per capita GDP has significantly increased from $67 in 1953 to now over 34,000. So FAO is very proud to take part of this journey by providing technical assistance and policy dialogue and capacity building, and also technical interventions through the program. And I'd like to also mention that the Republic of Korea has supported a number of countries through the FAO project. It's over 25 FAO projects already implemented worldwide, with a total funding is more than $90 million and benefiting 80 countries. And those projects are really crucial to support the people and farmers in all the countries. And we are very much appreciative for Korea's support.
Right, so a long history between the two sides. Now, speaking of which, Professor Lee, how can South Korea's experience in transitioning from a food aid recipient to a donor, like Mr. Kono mentioned, contribute to solving global food security and rural development challenges?
Well, South Korea is a country that achieved successful industrialization, but at the same time, it's a country that achieved a successful agricultural transition. So, and it's particularly important because Korea achieved both raising agricultural productivity and fostering environmental sustainability. So we can think of many things that make this possible. For example, the bottom-up, community development, so rural development, and market-oriented approach, and reforestation that also, reverse the deforestation trends and improving ecosystem and mitigating climate changes and recent digitalization that contributed to all these and improving agricultural, value chains. So we can think of major achievement in the 1960s, 70s, but we can also think of recent, improvement. And all this experience can inspire developing countries to address the dual, policy changes, which means, agricultural, productivity increase and environmental sustainability.
Right, and speaking of this, we also touched upon the cooperation between South Korea and the FAO. In particular, the South-South and Triangular Cooperation Project was carried out together with South Korea's Ministry of Agriculture, Food and Rural Affairs and the FAO. Mr. Kono, could you elaborate on this project? What is the significance and outcomes of this project?
Yeah, sure. With the support of Korea, FAO has been implementing a project to tackle the rice value chain in 3 countries, namely Cote d'Ivoire, Philippines, and Tanzania. And it's extremely important because actually, do you know how much rice is consumed in Cote d'Ivoire?
I cannot imagine.
Yeah. Actually, they consume more than 70 kilograms per year, which is actually more than Korea. And it's really surprising how much rice actually they are starting to consume in Africa. And then the demand is in rapid growth. And not only that, as you can see, a large rice importing countries in Asia, such as Philippines and Indonesia, they are increasing their own population. So the global demand and supply of rice is really dynamic. So nowadays, rice cultivation and rice trade are really getting very important highlight. And then this project is supporting the rice production and sector development in 3 countries. And first of all, we are looking at the increase of their productivity because in case of Tanzania and some part of Cote d'Ivoire, without sufficient irrigation, they produce only 1 to 2 tons per hectare, which is significantly lower than average. So we are doing intensive training to extension workers and farmers to increase the productivity by introducing practical technologies. Second aspect we are looking for is the environmentally sustainable production. Within our project, we are introducing the way to reduce the water use and also to reduce the fertilizer use without impacting the productivity. And also we are covering the integrated pest management. And third aspect we are working is the mechanization. Because using the machine for example, land preparation, which took one whole month, can be done in just one day. And not only that, by using the combined harvester, for example, we can significantly reduce the post-harvest losses. So those are extremely important to enhance the rice production and also the processing. So we are looking at the introduction of the machines, but also we have a high emphasis on the maintenance of the machine because it's a large investment, and we would like farmers to use the machine once introduced for a very long time.
So we will look forward to that. Now, Professor Lee, could you tell us about your views on the future global food market outlook? And from an economics perspective, what are the key challenges in solving food security issues moving forward?
Well, we have multiple challenges. I mean, several wars are still going on, and we have other types of geopolitical tensions that affect, the value chains. And as we discussed, we have climate change that negatively affects the agricultural sector. So we are in a very difficult situation. And we have multi-faceted problems. So I think we should think of, first of all, deploying more kind of technologies such as AI, like we discussed, evidence and data-driven agriculture. So we will have to understand how we can leverage the smart technologies that would also help our kind of adaptation and mitigation efforts. And we should also inform farmers so that they can respond to market changes and they can diversify food production, and also they can reduce post-harvest losses. And more systematically, we can think of improving infrastructure so that it can improve market access. And eventually, we should think of transforming agricultural, entire system to be more sustainable. And in doing so, I think the FAO's role is quite critical because it has platforms where multiple countries can cooperate to deal with short-run disruptions and addressing long-term challenges. And they have technical expertise, so they can reach out and help countries in need. So I'm looking forward to the FAO's role in helping these countries out.
All right, let's all hope for that to become resolved in earnest. Now, we'll have to leave our discussion right here. Many thanks again to Professor Lee and Mr. Kono for your insights tonight. We appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for having me.
And that will be all from us on Within the Frame. Be sure to tune in next time as we continue to explore the stories that matter. Until then, stay informed and engaged.